Hello everybody, it is me, Sacred G, and today we're going to be talking about Fallout 3. Now, about Fallout 3 actually are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to talk about the criticisms that I think are unfair and are just nonsensical, at least to me. And I do want to get a few things out of the way before I do start, and that is, I am not saying the game is perfect by any means. I just think some of these criticisms are a bit silly, at least to me. So, without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing I have written down, at least that I hear quite often when it comes to YouTube criticism on Fallout 3, or just straight up Fallout 3 hate, so the NPCs don't eat. So essentially what this argument is pretty much there's no plant life in the game, so that means that the NPCs don't eat and Bethesda's game design is bad. Well, we need to take into account this game is like several years old. I mean, this game came out in 2008, and Bethesda, from what I remember, never had weather, at least that I've seen in Morrowind. I could be wrong, okay? I am willing to admit I could be wrong there. Have not played much of Morrowind, but from what I've seen, there was no weather. And it's just funny to me because there's a bunch of hunters you can find in the game. Like, the big town that people complain that doesn't get the most food is like Megaton, and how did they get their shit? It's purely obvious in the fucking game. You could see caravans. I ran into some hunters that sell you meat that they hunt, and it's just like, okay, that doesn't make a bunch of sense to me on why people are bitching about, you know, it not being very specific on what foods people eat and how people get their food. Fucking caravans. They're all over the fucking game, and I don't even think it's an argument to even complain about, or not an argument, but something to even complain about due to the fact that it's placed throughout the game. The game doesn't have to show you exactly or specifically what it is that they need to eat. They just show, or how it is they get their food. They just show you pretty much the bare minimum so you could put 2 and 2 together yourself. Because to me that seems also like a waste of fucking coding. Of coding time and design time, at least to me. I mean, that's not a big bother to me because, you know, caravans and hunters exist in the game and you can bump into them and buy shit from them. And also Moira Brown even mentions after you go look for food in the Super Duper Mart that, guess what? She bought a shipment of food.
Really? No medicine at all? None? Seriously? Well, I guess I should have expected that. It's been a long time after all. But you certainly did research a couple of risks of those big stores. Tell me about it. That's a mighty callous attitude towards killing. But I guess they do the same for the food. Shame there wasn't any medicine. Well, keep what you got. Just traded for a big food shipment myself. Here, take a bit, my treat. The taste kinda grates after a while.
So I'm assuming it's from one of the major settlements, maybe Rivet City. I almost called it River City, but Rivet City. That's why I think it's stupid. I mean, it's purely obvious what some people eat. You know, you got Andale too, the people who eat other people. It's just, you know, common sense. Just pay attention to the game. Like, the game doesn't have to over-explain everything and tell you, oh, well, this is exactly what we do to eat. This is the process. You know, just might as well ask where they shit. Now, another thing you will hear is that the story is bad because, well, it's bad, pretty much. So far, from my own experience with the story, I don't really think it's bad. I will say, for me, it is not as engaging as Fallout 4, at least to me, because I was actually thinking of both stories and how I felt about each one of them. And I have to say I was more compelled with Fallout 4's, even though I said it's identical, and I honestly am not a big fan of that story either. And this is just my opinion, just to let you guys know. So, I just think, you know, it's not bad. I don't think it's bad whatsoever. I think it's very serviceable. When it comes to storytelling, it's very subjective. Like, if you don't like the story to the game, okay, yeah. And again, I am not saying Fallout 3 is a perfect fucking game. It is a pretty good game, at least to me. I think it's a fucking blast. And the story is pretty serviceable. You know, for the most part, I think the story isn't as bad as people make it out to be. It's very consistent with what it does. I mean, once you get out into the wasteland, and the theme is now you figure out that your father was trying to actually purify the water for everybody in the capital wasteland, and then it sticks to that theme. And, you know, there were some complaints that when you beat the story, the game ended. I could see that. You know, that would be a little stupid, but at the same time, I don't think that was a big deal either, because New Vegas ended up, once you beat it, you don't continue the game. But I digress. You know, storytelling is subjective. It's either you liked it or you didn't. So let's move on. I personally thought it was okay. You know, it's serviceable. It's entertaining. That's all I thought it was. Wasn't groundbreaking, at least to me. Okay, so for the next one I have is that you can't role play. Okay, of course people are going to say that you cannot roleplay, it's not a true RPG, and, you know, you even often hear people say because this is when Fallout started going downhill. And it's like, okay, well, most RPGs give you a bit of a backstory. Not only that, your character is not fully defined. Yes, you grew up in a vault. Yes, you have a father. Yes, you are 19 years old, but the mental stuff and the way the character goes about the wasteland is all totally up to you. You know, if they totally railroaded, because you'll hear this said too, I'll include this one with this. You'll hear, like, the story's railroaded. It should have included that with the story. You know, the story's railroaded, so it also, you can't roleplay because of that. So, it's not. You could literally go find your father the minute you get out of the vault if you dare so please, which is a pretty cool fucking feature, so you could skip a majority of the normal beginning half of the game. And not only that, like, there are plenty, like, people also include the choices. You can't roleplay because the choices aren't meaningful. Are people forgetting that if you were so evil that a bounty would be contracted on you, and then you would have to fight and kill them? They wouldn't show up all the time, but they showed up, and it's pretty immersive to me.
We've been looking for you. Someone's put quite a price on your head. What? You think you can walk around the wasteland doing the evil that you do, and there isn't going to be someone who takes notice? And now it's time for you to die. Ha! I love it when they go down fighting.
Because if I'm playing as a super evil character or somebody who's done bad things, and they end up getting evil as their overall look on the wasteland, the funny thing is that that's still immersive to me. It makes sense. Bounties happen in the wasteland. And I think that's pretty awesome, to be honest. And even when you have great karma, bigger towns start rewarding you with things. Megaton in specific. I remember I have a character who I have that has really good karma. He's done a couple evil things, but he has really good karma, and you go to those towns, and they reward you, and it's actually based off the decisions you made, either through actions or through dialogue. You know, another thing, too, people say there's no choice or consequence. Well, do people forget about Little Big Town? Or Trouble in Little Big Town? Where you could either kill Red or Sammy and totally not save them, or when you do, you could leave them to die pretty much to the super mutants and just not help them, or you could kill them all yourself. Or also, one of the bigger ones is Paradise Falls, where you get a choice to pretty much either side with the slavers, which means, like, you get to purchase things and actually do jobs for them. And the funny thing is that, like, that's choice. And even when you're, doing the quest Rescue from Paradise Falls, they give you plenty of options to actually free the kids. And I just don't understand. And you can even fucking open the gate, too, if you get the key for the slaves. And you could tell them, hey, you could go, the gate's open, but they'll get killed. You know? And also, you got Megaton. I think that one's brought up way too much, in my own opinion. But yeah, that's included as well. You also got Tranquility Lane, where you could just totally skip the entire sequence if you know the fucking puzzle to get out of the simulation. Also, Andale. You could talk your way out of the town, or you can have the people fucking just straight up murder you.
Hey there, stranger. I've got something that I want to talk to you about. I couldn't help but notice that you're poking around in my basement. So, be honest now, you wouldn't know anything about that, would you? And did you see anything unexpected there? And do you have any thoughts on that? I'm disappointed, friend, but that's your prerogative. If you don't want to enjoy our town, we certainly don't want you here. I'm sorry that you didn't enjoy your stay, but a man does need to feed his family. Nothing personal. Hey!
Or you could become friends with them and you get rewarded with their sick-ass food. I just don't understand. Like, yes, I will agree that some parts of the story you don't get choices in them, but for the most part, from my own experience with RPGs, that's, I think, how the main story is. And most of the time, developers will throw in side quests involved with the main story, so you get that sense of choice and everything else. In reality, most RPGs don't have choice outside or directly for the main story. It's just they throw in, at least from what I've seen, throw in side quests along the way to give you that sense of choice. And yes, you can roleplay in this game. You could roleplay as a neutral character. You could roleplay as a shitty person. It's just, all an imagination, and it's all the mental stuff too for your character. Like, how does your character view the wasteland? Do they just want to go romp around and take what's theirs by force or murder? You could do that, and also another fucking quest that I can think of that has choice is Blood Ties. That little town, Arafu, where they're getting attacked by gangs, or if you get, the note from Lucy West and Megaton in Moriarty's saloon, she asks if you can go send or go deliver a letter to her parents, and then you find out that there's some fucked up shit going on. So then you go figure it out, and then when you get to Lucy's brother, you get the choice to fucking kill them. Or just kill him. And then I made that decision, and guess what happened? Guess I failed the quest, and not only that, Arafu did not like me. How's about that for choice and consequence? And it wasn't even for me killing him, actually. It was because of a fucking dialogue choice. And then the whole town hated me for that, and I failed the quest. I told them to pretty much, well, you're just a kind of a bitch, so just stay here. Stay with the family. Stay with Vince and everybody else. This one just really kind of grinds my gears, and I'm sorry I spent too much time on this, but let's move on. Alright, another one that I have is the gunplay. You'll hear people say, the gunplay is clunky, this, that, the third. To a degree, I will say I can kind of agree. But where I disagree is, I think it's intentionally designed the way it is because you are a fresh, out of the vault, no experience with an actual gun type of person. If that makes sense, because I've noticed that if you increase your gun skill, you're more accurate. I even believe New Vegas has that too. If you're very shitty with your guns, or your skill in guns is just shit, you don't hit your shots. I don't think the combat's really that clunky, and it's not just the shooting people complain about. They just say the whole entire combat system's clunky. I've gone through melee, or I have a melee build, and it's honestly one of the cool experiences. Honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with, the combat. I think the combat's totally fine and serviceable for what it is. And yeah, there are times I will say the shooting is shit. There were a few times I was using a hunting rifle and shot a raider in the shoulder, but it went right through him and hit the fucking concrete wall. And then you could see the dust from the concrete pop up. That's bullshit. I understand that. That is frustrating. Okay? I've had it happen. But for the most part, I end up hitting my shots and getting quite a decent amount of XP kills. And that's happened more often than not. Yeah, again, there are times where that happens. It's, shitty. But at the same time, this game was very old. And back then, man, it was an interesting time for games. And, you know, they came out with patches and stuff and whatever, but I don't think the combat is really all that bad, in my own opinion. I think it's as good as New Vegas is, to be honest, in its own unique way. And also 4s. I don't see the issue with the combat. It's just simple. With melee, you just run up and hit the motherfucker, and then with, you know, shoot with stealth builds, you snipe their ass from a far distance, you know? Anywho, I don't think this is a big deal, at least to me. For the most part, I get kills, so... Let's go on to the last one. Last but certainly not least, it's the intro.
Don't be a damn fool. We experiment to prepare. We prepare to survive. Of course I miss her.
Surprise! Stanley, you turned the lights on too fast. You blinded the poor kid.
It's too long. The intro sequence is too long. Oh. And I've, you know, often heard that it's just unnecessary. It's unnecessary. Yeah, okay. And then some of these people go to bitch about the theme of the game not making sense, but okay, you want it's unnecessary to have an intro that introduces you to the situation your own character is in? If that makes sense? You know what I'm saying? People will literally bitch about this, and every time I play through the intro, I don't actually get annoyed with it. It's quite fun. It helps shape your character, or it can help shape your character. You can get insta karma points depending on what it is you want to be in the game. You want to be good, then, you know, you stop the bullies from bullying Amada, or you help them bully Amada if you want to be a bad character, or if you want to be in between and have a bit of a character arc, you know. I personally think that the intro is not as long as people say. You, like, literally, do people forget that you could skip through dialogue and then just click A, or click the interact button, or click, and then there you are, already getting out of the vault, or at the part where Amada wakes you up. Are you kidding me? You could skip some pretty decent chunks of the intro. Like, you don't have to take the GOAT. You can talk to Mr. Broch and talk your way into him taking the test for you, and then you choose your skills. It's literally how you build your character in the game, at least in the intro sequence. And I have fun with it. It's fun. It's a great, you know, in a sense, it's a bit of nostalgia, but at the same time, it is really necessary for the plot of the game, you know? Like, I just don't understand this complaint, because if you don't like it, and you do like the majority of the game, you just don't like that particular intro sequence, then you could skip through all the dialogue, and then you could get on your merry way with whatever the quest it is in the vault you're on. Okay, whether it is, you know, the birthday party sequence, and you're trying to get past that just to get to the BB gun to speed things along, well, you know what? It doesn't take that long. The only part of the intro that takes long is the character creator and also the stat or special book sequence when you're a baby. You know, and I think those are cool moments in gaming history, like a game that, or a mature-rated game that allows you to play as a child. And not only that, you could be a fucking douchebag on your 10th birthday. Isn't that wonderful? Anywho, it's really all taste, really. If you don't like the intro, that's really your own opinion. I don't know what else to say to that. It's just your own opinion, and a lot of people do like the intro sequence, and it's okay to not. I mean, to a degree, if you like listening to the dialogue, then yes, it will take you a long time to get out of the intro sequence. I think it took me, 10, 15 minutes, because I listened to what everybody had to say in the vault, and I don't personally care. But if, you know, you could shorten that probably to 5 minutes after you make your character get through the whole stat, or the special stats, and then the GOAT exam for your skills, then you can just get out of the vault. You just skip through the dialogue. Skip. Anywho, let's get to let's just end the video. Actually, I thought I had one more, but I don't. And to be honest, this is just my own opinion. I don't want to, you know, sit here and say Fallout 3 is the most perfect game ever. Last night I kind of raged at the game yesterday, and every time I remember normal's too hard. You know, for normal, it's weird. I think normal's just a balance, though, but whatever. You know, Fallout 3 has issues. I personally think it does. I think the story's really kind of not engaging, at least to me. I think it is serviceable, and if I'm role-playing, like, if I'm really getting into it, then, yeah, the story's not as bad as people make it out to be. It's really all on personal taste at the end of the day, and honestly, I just like all the games so far. I like all 3 of the ones that I played, 3, 4, New Vegas. You know, I just don't understand some of these complaints. Anywho, that is me, Sacred G. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace the fuck out, and have a good one, and enjoy your time in the Capital Wasteland.